Today's question comes from Alex in Chattanooga. My father-in-law wants to take the whole family, 7 adults, 4 kids, to Scotland in 2024. His scheme is to pay for the air tickets with American Express credit card points. He has ordered cards for his 3 daughters and wants them to pay for everything in their life with them and pay him back on a weekly or monthly basis. Not sure of that detail yet. He has already decided this, and the cards are in the mail. Apparently, he needs about 1 million points to get all the tickets for free. I know this is a horrific idea. I don't know how to tell him no on this.
Can we just, before we get into this, it's kind of a great idea. Like,
Brilliant.
I see this guy. Was like in an IHOP, and he was like, "Wait a minute," and then he's like had a napkin and started doing the math. It was like, I could take my whole family.
Oh, he needs 1 million points.
Oh, he needs 1 million points.
This is like when I was at Chuck E. Cheese, and I was like, okay, I need 40,000 tickets to get the boombox. And so I'd spend like $20, $30, and I'd end up with like 400 tickets, and they gave you like a little sticky hand.
Yep.
And like a pack of gum.
And so with $18,000, I could get that boombox up there with 40,000. Okay, so
but he's asking. I don't know how to tell him no. It's a father-in-law. It's
messy.
It's a little bit of a different relationship.
Messy. All right, so anytime somebody's asked me, George, how do I tell somebody no on this? We always practice. Say, repeat after me. No, thank you. And then they'll look at me like I'm kind of an idiot, and then they'll say no, thank you, and I'll be like, that you did
Gotcha.
it, right? You did it. So here's what we have here. We have a father-in-law who loves his family, and he wants to do a really cool thing. I would even go as far to read into this story is that there's something in their family lineage in Scotland, right? Maybe we're going to go back and see where great-great-great-great-grandparents lived or something. The whole idea here is pretty cool. And the father-in-law wants to honor everybody. We're going to do this. And father-in-law looks in the bank account and says, I can't pay for 11 people to go for a week to Scotland. Fair enough. Very few father-in-laws could do that. But he figured out a plan. It's just that the plan, as Alex writes, is a horrific idea, right? George, walk through. Why is this a terrible idea? I've got my own opinion on it, but go ahead.
Well, number one, he's apparently forcing his daughters to use credit cards to fund their life in order to get these points. And so I look at it logically. I look at the goal, right? The goal is Scotland 2024 for 11 people. And I go, okay, how much is that going to cost? So then I go, okay, we have 2 years to save up. Let's say it's $3,000 a person. Then I go, okay, daughter, number one, could you save up $3,000 in the next 2 years? What would that take to do that with cash? And I guarantee you it's a lot easier than the scheme of hoping you have enough points, and by 2 years from now, let's hope American Express hasn't changed their program and what those points are actually valued at and what the blackout dates are and which airlines and places you can fly to.
And worse,
it's a nightmare.
Worse built into this is, hey, honey, you owe me $49. Hey, honey, you owe me $706.
And what happens when they can't pay because they overspent to trying to help dad get as many points as possible?
Or they have a $700 Costco bill and they swipe it, and then all of a sudden the transmission falls out and they got to fix that. And then now dad's like, well, wait a minute, guys, I need my.
But John, there was 6% points if you shop online at this specific retailer, and so that's why I spent $1,000.
Gotcha.
In order to get the 6% instead of the 4%.
I needed 111 pairs of Banana Republic socks so that I could get the.
This is the game we're playing, John.
Yes.
Now, the numbers here are outrageous. 1 million points of anything, regardless of what. We don't know what these points are worth.
So great. So look at Bitcoin. All right, here's my problem with it, okay? And you and I have talked about this just hanging out. Let's say this works perfectly. Let's say the family, they're all in. They come up with a foolproof system. We are going to, every week, we're going to write dad a check for the money that we spent. We're going to spend anyway. We're going to spend this money anyway. We had to buy groceries anyway. We had to pay for rent anyway. We had to do all these things anyway. We just threw them on this American Express card, and then we wrote dad a check instead of writing it to our rent or to our light bill or whatever. Everything works out perfectly. And the family takes a 100% free trip to Scotland in 2024. It all works. Here's what got me out of this system. Because I'm somebody who used points, and we paid it off every month. It never affected my family other than I was quote-unquote winning. And it was a light bulb moment for me when I realized, oh, this credit card company's not my friend. They're not just giving me free flights and hotels because they like me. And they're like, you've been so good to us, bro. We're going to be good to you. That's not how they work. Then I realized that there's a single mom with 3 kids trying to figure out how she can put gas in the car because it's tripled in price. And she can't figure it out. She's got to swipe this card, and it's got a $500 limit, and she's having to balance that card with another one with a $250 limit, and she's paying for my flight. And I'm not going to be a part of a system that preys on people who can't make their payments or who found themselves suddenly a single mom like the last caller, or who's living in a city and all of a sudden rent's tripled. I'm not going to go to Scotland for free on the backs of those men and women who are trying to scratch and claw their way through life. I'm opting out of a corrupt system that preys on people who have less than or who are struggling. I'm not going to play. I couldn't enjoy a trip to Scotland that I got for free knowing that it was paid for by people who can't, like, who are struggling, right? Or who don't have enough control in their life, or who use shopping as some form of medication or some sort of anxiety relief from trauma. I'm not going to play that game. I'm opting out. I'd rather pay for my trip to Scotland. I'd rather tell my family, I want to do this cool thing, like you mentioned earlier, in 2 years. Can we all save up? Can we all be a part of this? I'd rather that than this pretend thing like, I'm taking this all for free. Y'all just do chores for me for the next 2 years.
System, baby.
Yeah. You do chores for me for the next 2 years, and then we're all going for free. I'm just not playing that game.
No.
So it's more of it's a heart thing.
If you truly believe it's free, then their marketing is working very, very well.
That's right. Or that they're friends with you.
That's amazing. Because what's going to take, truthfully, they're going to have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on those cards over the next 2 years in order to get their 1,000,000 points.
And even if you were going to do it anyway, don't play in a system that preys on other people. Just don't, man.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
So just save up.
So
give yourself some cash back.
Here's the truth before we pass this on. Your father-in-law comes to you and says, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. The conversation is probably, again, me and a friend of mine argue on this, but I think your wife is the one, or your husband. I don't know if Alex is man or woman, but whoever is the direct child of this father-in-law sits down and says, hey, I don't play with credit cards. I don't participate in this game. You let me know how much the tickets cost, and I'll let you know if we can afford our family's ability to go. And we will put in the cash on this trip, but I don't participate in this. And it might be come on, it's all figured out. It's all cool. That's great, man. I don't play in that game. And if your father-in-law doesn't respect your family's boundaries in that way, this trip to Scotland's going to be a pretty awful adventure. So you've opted out. Thank goodness you avoided a pretty disastrous trip together, right?
Yeah, I only see that one of two ways. Either father-in-law goes, hey, I want to gift this to you guys with no strings attached, or, hey, I'd love to go on this trip. Let me know if you guys can make it and if we can afford it.
There you go.
But this weird in-between of you got to play by my rules and sign up for this credit card and pay me back every month for everything that creates a very different dynamic in the relationship.
Yeah. It just sounds like I've come up with a great idea. You just do chores for me for a long time.
It reminds me of the call Dave took where a guy said, hey, I want to buy a payphone for the house, and everyone puts quarters in it, and then I get all the money, and we get free phones. And Dave's like, don't you have to pay for, the phone line? Like the air that the phone? And the guy was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Dang it, I thought I scammed the system.
And
oh, boy.
Whiff. Good job.
Yep.